My name is Megan Kathleen West. That's W-E-S-T.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Good afternoon, Megan.
Hi.
It's okay if I call you Megan?
Yes.
Megan, do you know Kevin West?
Yes.
Who is he?
He's my father.
Is that him sitting right there?
Yes.
Okay. Just a little bit of background information on you. Where do you currently live?
I live in La Center, Washington.
How long have you lived there?
Maybe a few weeks.
Okay.
Not long.
And before that, where were you?
Vancouver, Washington.
Was there a time when you were living in Seattle?
Yes, there was.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Can you describe that?
I was living in Seattle while I was attending the University of Washington.
Okay. Now, you talked to your brother Ted already. I understand he's your brother, correct?
Yes.
And your mother was Marcy West?
Yes.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Washougal, Washington.
Did you go through the whole school system here?
What was that?
Did you go through the whole school system here?
Yes, through high school.
All right. And then after high school, what did you do?
I went to University of Washington for 1 academic year.
Now, in Washougal, the last house you lived with your family, where is that located?
Do you want the address?
If you know it.
2573 34th Street.
And do you recall roughly when you moved in there?
It was right before my freshman year of high school.
Now, growing up with your family, your parents, were you able to kind of get an idea what kind of relationship they had for the most part?
Yes.
What was it like?
It was a loving, caring relationship. They cared about each other very much. Yes, they had disagreements, like all couples do, but overall it was very loving.
So as far as the disagreements, did you see fights?
Like physical?
Well,
Like,
any kind of fight.
they would occasionally raise their voices at each other. My mom would sometimes get angry and, throw something, but that was really it.
Was there ever any physical fights between you?
No.
Now, were you kind of aware of your mother's habits as far as exercise and so forth goes?
Yes.
What was it like?
She mostly just did walking occasionally.
Anything else?
No.
How was her eating habits?
They weren't great.
Are you kind of focused on eating habits yourself?
Yes.
All right. And so how would you characterize her way of eating, her style of eating?
She didn't always choose the healthiest food options. She drank soda a lot instead of water. A lot of, processed foods. She occasionally did try, keto diet, but it never really stuck.
Okay. Did she ever complain about any physical pain or ailments to you?
Yes, headaches.
Like how often?
They would pretty much be every day, every other day.
Let's talk about just about a year or so before she passed.
Okay.
Were you living at home during that year?
The year before she passed, majority I was in Seattle most of the time, but I would come home frequently.
Okay. On the weekends or holidays or something like that?
Holidays, weekends, I had a very open, academic schedule, so I was able to take the train probably every other week.
Okay. Well, let's talk about before that. Let's say the year before you moved. This would have been probably your senior year in high school?
Yes.
And did she have that kind of an ailment at that time?
Ailment like the headache?
Yes.
Yes, she did.
And what would she do for those headaches?
She would take large amounts of ibuprofen.
Did she carry them with her?
Yes, she had a Costco-sized bottle of ibuprofen with her at all times in her purse.
This, in your recollection, you say this was frequent. How frequent?
The headaches?
Yeah.
Every day. Like she complained almost every day
Were
of
they,
headaches.
okay. And so let's talk about the last year before she passed. You say you were living up in Seattle, is that right?
Yes.
Living in one of the dorms?
Yes.
Which one?
Older Hall.
You lived in Alder Hall. And so you went up there probably at the end of August or something like that?
Yes, that's around that time.
Okay, this would have been 2023, am I right?
Yes, 23.
Okay. Yeah, but before that, you lived at home.
Yes.
Did she ever complain about any other physical ailment that you could recall that she would say, I'm experiencing this right now?
Muscle aches, particularly in her neck and her feet.
Okay. But now the headaches you're talking about, when you would come back starting in the fall, you went up there in late August, and then how often did you come back that first semester? Because she passed at the end of your first semester, didn't she?
It was the beginning of second.
Beginning of second. Okay,
Yes.
so we're just talking about that one semester. How often do you come back?
I would come back probably twice, maybe 3 times a month.
Okay. More at the beginning than the end?
Yes.
Okay, homesick?
Yes.
All right. And so, so when you came back on those weekends, did you see her at the house?
Yes.
And was she having these same kind of problems?
Yes, she was.
Did, to your knowledge, did she go to the doctor about these problems?
No.
Were you close to your mother?
Yes, I was.
Close to your dad too?
Yes.
And so, when they would have these fights, was it ever over finances?
Yes.
Like, just a little bit, or like, was that kind of a big subject?
It wasn't the only subject, but it was one that I noticed appeared more often than not.
What would be another subject?
Work sometimes. Like, my mom wanted to travel a lot. We didn't always have that opportunity.
Were the fights ever about you?
Yes.
And then, how would that start? Fight between you and your dad, or
No, it'd be between my mom and I.
did your dad get involved?
Yes.
So you come home on the weekends. When was the last time you came home before she passed?
It was winter break. We had just celebrated Christmas and New Year's, and she drove me back to my dorm right after New Year's.
Do you remember where you went for Christmas?
Probably.
Or if you went anywhere?
I don't remember that year if we went everywhere, but I think we went to Eugene sometime in that. Yes, we did go to Eugene. This is family.
So you got back for winter break, what, probably the second week of December, something like that?
I went back. Are you saying like when I left school or when I went back?
When you
to
left school and came home?
Oh yes, it was right before Christmas.
Okay.
Probably a day or two before, probably.
And how were your mom and dad getting along at that time?
As far as I was concerned, they were getting along fine.
Was their relationship always good or always bad?
No, it was a good relationship. They had disagreements, but nothing stood out to me.
When you came back during that period, just before Christmas until the time you left, whatever that was, were they getting along okay during that time?
Yes.
Was it better than usual?
It was about the same as usual, I'd say.
And so, what day did you go back to school?
It was shortly after New Year's, probably the 2nd or 3rd of January 2024.
Okay. And how did you get back to school?
My mom drove me.
How was that trip?
It was good. Partway through the drive, she experienced a severe headache. Asked me to pass her the ibuprofen bottle. We had to pull over multiple times. I almost had to take over driving.
Okay. Do you normally listen to music on the way up?
Yes.
Were you able to do that this time?
A little bit, but she had me turn it off after the headache started.
And about how far into the drive did she have to stop and pull over? Do you recall?
It was probably about halfway, the first stop, and then, we'd stop frequently after that just so she could get fresh air.
And then she took you to school, which you could just drop you off and turn around and come home?
No, she helped me back in my dorm, helped with my bags, my suitcase, and then after she had left, I walked her out, I gave her a hug, I walked back in, I realized, something came over me that I needed to give her another hug, so I ran out back to her and I gave her another one.
Okay. So then you go back to school,
Yes.
and from that time until the day your mother passed, did you have any contact with her?
Yes, I did.
Like how?
She often proofread my assignments. I would, write them, send her pictures, and she'd let me know if anything needed changes, like grammatically, or, oh, this might sound better, try this.
Was that something she often did?
Yes.
Very involved in your school?
Yes.
You did pretty well in school, I take it?
Yes.
Now just going back to her diet a little bit, you say she didn't eat the healthiest diet, like processed food.
Yes.
Did she eat snacks and stuff like that?
Yes, she did.
Like what kind of stuff?
She would have chips, a lot of chips. I remember that.
And Diet Coke?
Yes. Pepsi.
Pepsi. And so, now, growing up with your mother, you'd see her first thing in the morning sometimes.
Yes.
You'd see her during the day, sometimes at night just before bed.
Yes.
How did she normally dress? Let's say like in that last year, how did she dress normally?
If she wasn't going anywhere that day, she would dress pretty comfortable, usually a pair of leggings and t-shirt or a hoodie.
If it's a little colder, did she kind of layer up,
Yes.
even in the house?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any recollection of her habit of wearing a bra?
Yes.
What do you call about that?
She always wore a bra.
Do you know why she wore a bra?
It was just her personal preference. She never gave me a specific reason, but just her.
But did you feel like you had to wear a bra all the time because she did?
No.
And why didn't you feel like you had to?
Objection, relevance.
The state.
Oh,
Thank you.
do I answer the question?
No,
you don't.
No? Okay.
So, when you would see her first thing in the morning, like, were there times where you'd be up first and you'd see her come
Objection,
downstairs?
reading.
I'm sorry. Finish the question, then I'll decide.
Were there
Don't
times-
answer until I hear the question.
Were there times when you would be up first and she would get up after you?
Yes.
Okay. And so, where would you be typically when that happened?
I'd probably be downstairs eating breakfast or in my room getting ready for the day.
Would you be aware of whether or not she was wearing a bra at that time?
She always wore a bra.
How about late at night? It's bedtime. She's going to go to bed. What about then?
Yes, she wore one.
Do you ever remember a time when she wasn't?
Objection, asked and answered about the bra.
Do you ever remember a time when she wasn't wearing a bra?
No.
Now, that last week that you came back, or the last couple of weeks that you came back, let's go to the after Christmas time. You were just there for a few days, is that right?
Yes.
Were they getting along pretty well when you left?
Yes.
How did your mother seem, other than the headaches, how did she seem like spiritually?
She seemed happy. We were just in family for Christmas. Everyone was in a good mood.
Now, we all have our style of dressing, especially when we're at home and we're in our element where other people don't see us. Would you describe her as a careful dresser?
Can you elaborate?
Well, was she always really careful to make sure everything was just right, everything was put on just the right way?
No, if she wasn't leaving the house, she didn't really pay attention to what
Why
she
do you
was
say
doing.
that? When you say she didn't pay attention, what do you mean?
Her clothes were often backwards or inside out. Ever since I was a kid, that was something I always remembered about her.
Is that kind of a family joke?
No, a little bit, but as a kid, I'm like, oh, mommy's being silly. Her shirt's on backwards. But if she were to go out, she would be more careful.
Did that continue all the time?
Yes.
Now, as far as the chores around the house, who did most of the cooking in the house?
Objection,
My dad did.
relevance.
Sustained objection.
Who did most of the cleaning?
Objection, relevance.
Your Honor, they brought this up.
No.
I offer the rule for the objection.
Who did most of the cleaning?
My dad.
Did your dad do a lot of cleaning?
Yes.
Was he pretty tidy guy?
Yes.
Objection, asked and answered.
We'll let the answers stand.
So you go up to school, and you maintain contact with your mom, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. And are you talking to her on the phone too?
Yes.
And how did she seem?
She seemed happy. Like the last time I talked with her on the phone, she was laughing, joking with Ted, making fun of me a little bit, but she was happy.
What day was that?
It was the night before she passed.
So this would have been on January 7th?
Yes.
So this would have been a Sunday night?
Yes.
I don't expect you to remember exactly when it was. Do you have an idea of ballpark what time of day it was?
It was nighttime. It was before I went to bed.
So you're up at school. How did you find out about your mother passing?
I was at the Starbucks at Suzzallo Library. I got a call from Dad asking where I was. I told him where I was. He told me to come to the dorm right away and that he and Ted were there. I walked back to my dorm. He walked me upstairs, sat me down, and told me that my mother had passed.
How was your dad emotionally when you saw him?
I could tell he was very shaken when I first saw him. When he told me that it was just him and Ted there, I instantly knew something had happened to Mom. I wasn't sure what, but his eyes were red, he was shaking, very distraught.
Okay. And I imagine you were not too happy either, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened after that?
We were in my dorm for a little bit. We were crying. After we had calmed down for a bit, he told me that they were taking me home and they would help me pack some bags to take me home.
Okay. And so this would have been a Monday morning, right?
I believe so.
Did you have school that day?
No, I did not. I didn't have classes Mondays or Fridays during that quarter semester.
So you went home, and who was with you on the ride back? Just you and your dad?
No, it was Dad, Ted, and I believe his name is Scott Slocum,
Okay.
who drove. Dad was in no shape to drive, so Scott drove us.
And on the drive back, how was your father emotionally?
He was very upset.
Was this just one level of upset, or was it kind of up and down, or what was it?
He was constantly upset. I was, asking questions. He often needed time to collect himself before he could give me, an answer. Very, very upset. We were all upset.
And what was the seating arrangement on the way back?
Objection, relevance.
What was the seating arrangement on the way back?
I can't remember.
Do you know if you're sitting next to your dad?
I don't remember.
So, did you have any idea what time you got home today?
It was probably middle of the day.
Okay. Were there other people there?
Yes.
And so, were they, you know a lot of his firefighter friends, right?
Yes.
Were there a lot of firefighters?
I can't remember if there were any firefighters, but I know my grandma Lori and my grandpa Bill were there by the time we had arrived to my house.
Okay. So did you get a chance to see your mother before they took her?
No.
Now, I'm kind of jumping back just a little bit. Before you left for college, are you aware of any kind of cleaning that took place in their bedroom, your mom and dad's bedroom?
Objection. Relevance.
Okay, I'll allow that question.
Before I left for college,
Yeah.
like after winter break or
At any time, any kind of,
anytime. I know they were getting carpets cleaned upstairs.
was that while you were still there?
I can't remember. I know they were prepping for it, and then after Mom had passed, things still weren't set to where they were, so Dad had to rearrange. Like the furniture upstairs.
All right. So you come home, there's some family shows up, firefighters are there. When the firefighters all kind of cleared out, what time was that, you think?
I don't remember.
Who was left after they left?
I don't remember. I know Dad, Ted, and I, but I don't remember anyone, like, specifically.
Do you remember your grandmother showing up that day?
Yes.
And then, do you remember anybody coming over in the evening, just dropping by?
I know some of my friends from high school dropped by. I can't remember specifically by name, but I know some friends did show up.
And you said your father was crying. Did he continue that all day, or did that change?
It continued all day.
Were there times when he would pause and not be crying for a little bit?
Yes.
Now, with regard to your mother's personal items, do you know what happened to those?
Yes, I do.
What's that?
Dad took Ted and I upstairs. He's like, you guys feel free to take whatever you want, whatever you need. And with your blessing, I'd like to donate whatever is left over. So Ted and I carefully went through everything, picked out some things that we wanted. There are a few, random items that neither of us had use for or wanted. So whatever was left over was donated.
Okay. And the things that were donated, I mean, you said they were just things you didn't want, right?
Yeah, like plain T-shirts or camis, not socks, but like maybe some shoes that didn't fit any of us. So.
Okay. Did you have anything to do with moving furniture out of the house? Are you aware of anything happening to the bedroom furniture in your mom and dad's room?
Yes.
What do you know about that?
So after the carpet was cleaned, I remember most of the furniture was stuffed in their closet.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to help bring it out. And
what about now, the furniture, do you understand that the furniture is still there, or do you believe the furniture is no longer there?
to my knowledge, like at this moment,
Yeah.
it's no longer there
Okay. Do you know why?
because we moved out.
Okay. But you don't know what happened to the furniture?
No.
Okay. Do you remember getting rid of the mattress in the master bedroom?
Yes, I vaguely remembered
Do you
that.
recall that?
I just know that the mattress was stained, probably with cat urine or vomit. And it was very dirty, and it was, just a burden to clean. It was easier just to get a new one.
And did you have a dog?
Yes,
What's the dog?
Sadie.
And where did Sadie sleep at night?
She either slept in the bed with my parents, or if it got too hot, she went to the bathroom tiles.
And did she sleep on your parents' bed all the time?
Yes.
What, did you ever have to get up in the middle of the night with regard to Sadie?
Yes.
How did that be?
If neither of my parents were waking up, she'd come to my room and sit right beside my bed and whimper till I woke up to let her out.
Okay. And so, I mean, you're young, got great hearing. You could hear it pretty easily?
Yes.
Were there times, but you're saying that there would be times when she'd whimper in their room, they would wake up, or do you know?
I don't know. I just suspected that she tried to wake him up and it didn't work.
Did you play the family card game?
But
Was there a card game your family liked?
yes,
What was it called?
Spite and Malice.
Was that a game your family played a lot?
Yes.
Did you ever see Ted give your mother a massage?
Yes.
Did you ever give your mother a massage?
Yes.
So how would that come about? I mean, would one of you just want to give her a massage, or how would it come about?
She'd be like, we'd be settling in for the night, watching a movie, and she'd be like, "Oh, Ted, like, my shoulders are sore," like prompting him, and he'd get up, massage her shoulders. She goes, "Oh, my feet are just aching," and so then I would go to her feet.
Okay, so Ted shoulders, Megan feet.
Yep.
Okay. And have you ever received a massage from Ted?
Yes.
And how is that?
Good.
How does he do?
He does a really good job.
Okay. Is it painful?
No.
Okay. Could it be painful?
Yes.
Okay. Would his massages sometimes be a little too much for you?
Yes.
And how would you communicate that to him, if at all?
I would like tell him to either stop completely, like lighten up, or I just get up and walk away.
Okay. When your mother would get a massage by Ted, did she make complaints like that?
Yes.
Okay. Or what would she tell him with regard to how it
Objection,
felt?
hearsay.
What would she say with regard to how it felt, what he was doing? What would she say about it?
She would tell him to lighten up or to move to a different area.
Okay. And did were you aware of your mother having breast augmentation?
Not till after she passed.
So your whole life you didn't know about that?
No.
Objection, relevance.
Like the answer stand.
You talked about your dad being pretty tidy. How about your mom? Was she tidy?
Not always, no.
Why do you say that?
She would get, in these we would call them cleaning fits, where she'd just be like, the house is too cluttered, we need to clean it, and then she'd do all the cleaning in one day. But on a day-to-day basis, she would be pretty messy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know who Cynthia Ward is?
Yes.
And who is she?
She's my dad's fiance.
Did you, when did you find out about her?
I found out about her after a gathering we had at the house.
Okay. Do you remember when the gathering was?
It was about a week or two after Mom passed.
Okay. Was it any special occasion that you can recall?
Partially, it was for my dad's birthday, but it wasn't, just for my dad's birthday. It was, all of the family was there. We were all mourning. We were just, supporting each other.
And is that where you met Cynthia?
Yes.
Okay. Who did you think she was when you first got there? How was she introduced?
My dad pulled me aside, pulled me into the garage about, I think it was either the same day or the day before everyone started showing up. It was like, hey, your Auntie Amy has a friend named Cynthia, and she's coming to the party. Is that okay?
Okay. So she was kind of like the one outsider to this family gathering?
Yes.
And were you okay with that?
Yes.
All right, so she comes to the party, you're introduced, Amy's your aunt's friend, right?
Yes.
And did you, throughout this gathering, did you change your impression whether she was just a friend of Amy's or not?
I had my suspicions as soon as Dad asked me. But throughout the party, I knew more and more that there was something, they weren't telling me.
And then at some point, did you talk to your dad about that?
He actually talked to me about it.
When was that?
It was when he was driving me back to school. I'd taken 2 weeks off, and I needed to go back when he drove me back.
Did you go back before or after that ice storm?
It was after the ice storm.
Like a lot or just a little bit?
It was just a little bit to my memory.
So maybe just a few days after the gathering, he told you who she was?
Yes.
Okay. Did he say it's something that had just started, or how did he explain it to you?
The way it was prompted was he asked me my opinions of her, and if that was something he should pursue. And, I was like, look, Mom just passed. If this is something you want to do, that is completely up to you. You're an adult. and I just told my opinions on that.
Did he indicate whether it's something that had just started or had been going on? Do you have any idea?
Not at that moment, no.
Did he ever clarify that?
Yes.
What is your understanding now?
A few months later, we were at the trailer he was living at. I can't remember which RV park he was at this time, but he pulled me outside and he was like, I had this talk with Ted a little bit ago, but I wanted to have it with you. He's like, I haven't been completely honest, but Cynthia and I have been seeing each other for a few months now.
Okay. So that means even before your mother passed?
Yes.
So how is your relationship with Cynthia?
It's good.
Thank you.
Cross-examination?
I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
Can the witness take students then?
Yes.
Feel free to go. Don't discuss your testimony with other potential witnesses.
Thank you.